Good afternoon and welcome to the Albury Business Connect Annual General Meeting. For the second consecutive year, we find ourselves delivering this online. Just please ensure that your audio settings are switched to mute. Can everyone hear me okay? Give me a wave. Thanks. I'd like us all to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I'm pleased to introduce the Albury Business Connect team. We have Gabby Burke in the Albury CBD Coordinator role, Rhiannon Vaness, Communications Officer, and Rachel Croker, Events and Administration. And for those I've not had the opportunity to meet, I'm Lisa Hasty, General Manager here at Albury Business Connect. Welcome to our 2021 board members, Barry Young, Alex Berry, Bernadette Torreson, Celeste Pearce, Graham Chapman, Hamish Taylor, Steve Owens, Kate Stevens, and Rebecca O'Brien. And a very special welcome to our incredible sponsors throughout the 2021 financial year. Your contributions are extremely valued and we thank you. Albury City, Blacklocks Lavington, Digital Marketer B, HIB Insurance Brokers, NBN Co, Qantas, Telstra, 1491 2AY, Regent Cinemas, Harwood Andrews, IBT, Texcellence, Harris Lieberman, Shoreway Employment, Business Edge Accountants, Integrity, Peter Stewart, PRD, RSM and Total HRM. We welcome and thank you for joining us, Councillor Alice Glacken from Albury City, along with Frank Zachnich, Tracy Squires, Ambrose Glass, Joe Hewitt and Angela Larkin. We're now able to get underway with the business of the annual general meeting. I'll begin before we hear from our ABC Chair, Treasurer, our subcommittee chairs and returning officer to announce the 2021-2022 board. What a mouthful. Please then stay with us to hear from our special guests. There is no denying we've had experienced another testing and challenging year, and I would like to acknowledge the determination and grit of you all to adopt and deal with the abrupt conditions you have been operating in. It's also provided an opportunity for some businesses to grow and diversify and shown us all that we're able to achieve incredible things under pressure. May this year saw the departure of General Manager Carrick Gilvalance. Carrick joined the organisation close to 10 years ago, and to say that his influence on Albury Business Connect and the business community at large has been significant would grossly undervalue his contribution. While GM, Carrick oversaw the organisation's rebrand and led strongly when COVID began impacting our region and businesses. Thank you, Carrick, for your service and leadership throughout your time with Albury Business Connect. I thank you to Megan Cullen, who departed the Albury CBD Coordinator role to pursue her own business. Her influence on the brand will be felt for many years to come. Gabby Burke, however, is no stranger to the role and stepped back in, which has created wonderful consistency. Gabby has had a busy year finalising photo shoots, which has allowed us to create an exceptional catalogue of high quality images to use. The Mother's Day and Father's Day gift guides, along with the Christmas gift guide, were a huge success, as was the launch of the consumer newsletter, which continues to grow. The Albury CBD gift card program continues to find momentum and will be a key focus ahead with a series of local maker videos. Gabby's movement into that role left the space in the communications officer, and we're really pleased to have had Rhiannon Vaness join the team. Her skills in communications and marketing are proving a huge asset, with engagement statistics for our content across all our platforms growing. Our strategic plan is built on three key pillars: leadership, community, and growth. While there have been some obvious interruptions to our plans and operating environment, we remain committed to creating opportunities across these focus areas. We've continued to advocate on your behalf to influence government decision makers on grants, the border bubble and restrictions. And we'd like to thank Justin Clancy, local member for Albury, and Anthony Mcfarland, of Business New South Wales for your support, dedication and commitment in this space. Thank you to the members that have completed our surveys. We're aware that the number of surveys you're requested as a business owner to undertake is a lot, and we appreciate your input enormously. It enables us to see the bigger picture and make recommendations based on the feedback and data you're able to provide us. We partnered with the personnel group and conducted a survey in late 2020 on the mental wellbeing of Albury businesses in the wake of the border closures and COVID impacts. Over 350 people were surveyed, and the results highlighted there was a further need for support and education at a local level. And we're very pleased to have secured a one-off grant of $25,000 from the New South Wales government to address these needs. It's been used to launch a website, the Better Place Project, which lists resources for employers and employees from national and local providers. And we're also able to have a business concierge contact 150 local businesses to discuss mental wellbeing in the workplace and provided printed resources. March saw us kick off a round of business consultations to identify the appetite on parklets in Albury CBD and Lavington. We were able to interact with 250 businesses through this process with the outcome of a trial parklet on Dean Street to start in early 2022. Our events were a combination of online, in-person and hybrid, a nod to the world in which we live now. Thanks to Rachel Croker's hard work in this space, we've been able to create opportunities to network, educate and collaborate through 41 events in the past 12 months. We express our gratitude to business women and Young Business Edge chairs, Desiree Giorgio and Angela Larkin, and their committees, who have continued to show commitment and positivity to revise and modify plans. You're an amazing group of volunteers and such an important part of what we do. The 2021 Albury-Wodonga Business Awards saw the greatest number of entrants on record, and we congratulate the entrants, finalists, winners, and thank sponsors, judges and the steering committee. And Tracy Basham, event coordinator, who after almost 4 years has stepped down from her role. We thank her for her dedication and contribution to the awards. Our role representing, connecting, informing and advocating for businesses isn't possible without Albury City Council. We thank you for your ongoing commitment and support to our business community. A very warm and heartfelt thank you to the amazing lineup of generous sponsors. Your contribution is essential to our ability to do what we do. And your contribution in such turbulent times is incredible. What a community we have. And please thank these sponsors when you see them. To the ABC board, I'm grateful for the tireless dedication and commitment you bring to your positions. I'm not sure that the membership is fully aware of how engaged and devoted you are to the betterment of Albury business and our community at large. Again, I thank Rach, Gab and Ree for the work they do behind the scenes, ability to adapt to change so well and make this place such a wonderful place to work. Finally, to our members, the reason we exist, it's our great pleasure to work with you. We're proud of your resilience, innovation, determination, and the community spirit you've displayed in the most extreme of circumstances. I look forward with optimism, and I'm amazed by the business people of Albury. Remember to shop and buy local, use local services, support the small, boutique and unique our region has to offer, and keep checking in on one another as we move to recovery and brighter days ahead. I'd now like to invite Albury Business Connect Chair, Barry Young, to unmute and take the cyber stage.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That's really well presented report, so thank you very much. Before I begin, I just need to let you know my dog has just camped himself behind me. He's only little, but he snores like an old man sometimes. So if you think you're hearing snoring, it's not coming from Zoom land, it's actually the little dog. So it's not a reflection, I hope, of my report. In review of 2021, of course, will be centred around COVID and how we as a business community adapted to the demands of continuing to operate with uncertainty. It's a measure of our community that we were able to demonstrate remarkable resilience and ingenuity in not only navigating our own course, but being mindful to lend support to those around us. And I think that's what makes Albury Business Connect particularly proud to be part of such an amazing community. A feature of 2021 was, of course, the rebranding from Albury Northside Chamber of Commerce to Albury Business Connect. This reflects more than a change of title, as it is a statement of our desire to be seen as leaders in our community and to aspire to be welcoming and encourage participation across a diverse range of businesses, community groups and individuals. We are committed to our 3 pillars of leadership, growth and community. We encourage leadership by not only striving to be leaders in our own community, but also develop leaders. Albury Business Connect continues on a path of growth for our organisation, our members, business and individuals, understanding the strong business community underpins a stronger broader community. These principles are particularly relevant to our broader community that have demonstrated amazing resilience to deal with continued lockdowns in both New South Wales and Victoria. Each of these have had significant impact on our border communities. We recognise the impact on local business from both an economic and health perspective, and particularly the health perspective really led us to and made us particularly proud of the Better Place project, which we did in association with the personnel group. A survey which was conducted in October 2020 identified a significant need for mental health support as a result of COVID-19 and subsequent border closures. We're able to offer localised support and provide local businesses with the tools to help manage employee and employer wellbeing. So please visit betterplaceproject.com.au for any more details on that amazing initiative. Albury Business Connect continues to advocate for border community, and we would like to thank New South Wales member for Albury, Justin Clancy, and Anthony Mcfarland from Business New South Wales for their continued support. We will continue to lobby all levels of government for the betterment of our community. Massive shout out to our operations team. As Lisa mentioned, 2021 saw the departure of Carrick, a long-term member of Albury Business Connect. We're indebted to Carrick for his many years of dedication and passion, not only for our business, but for the community. And we really wish him well on his return to his family and to the coast. Also, Megan Cullen, a very popular Albury CBD coordinator, has moved on to explore her own creative interests with her business We Creative. As an organisation, we're committed to continued development of leaders, and this applies to our own team members as well. So we always get a kick up when we see our members moving on and doing great things. We welcomed Lisa Hasty to the role of General Manager. After a short period as acting GM, it became apparent for all stakeholders that Lisa had all the attributes and passions to lead Albury Business Connect into the future. So well done, Lisa. We also welcome Rhiannon Bernice into the communications role, who along with Rachel Croker and Gab Burke form an amazing team. They're dedicated to our business community, and we can't thank them enough for their ongoing dedication. To the Albury Business Connect board, I am certainly in awe of your dedication to the community that you provide on a voluntary basis, and you should all be really proud of your contribution. Our subcommittees, Businesswomen Albury Wodonga and Young Business Edge, continue to provide great energy in our business community, and we thank our dedicated committees for their ongoing commitment and agility in difficult circumstances, providing an offer to our members of the highest standard. We value our association with Business Wodonga and a shared passion for our community. As Lisa mentioned, our sponsors, thanks to our amazing sponsors, we value enormously our association with Albury City Council and share a passion for the betterment of our community. We thank our platinum, gold, silver, bronze and media sponsors for their ongoing commitment to our community. Finally, to you, our members, as you are our reason for being, we remain dedicated to building community that allows us all to thrive and enjoy not only our own success, but of those around us. We continue to be inspired by your resilience, ingenuity and care for your peers, as well as the wider community. You can be sure of Albury Businesses Connect support, care and advocacy. Thank you all.
Thank you, Barry, and thanks for your commitment and leadership as chair throughout 2021. Celeste Pearce, I now invite you to deliver the Treasurer report.
Thanks, Lisa. Well, I must admit that I didn't expect to be delivering my Treasurer's report at the annual general meeting via Zoom this year. I was really hoping that we could all get together, but it is what it is. So the year that's passed has seen many changes with Albury Business Connect, and it's a testament to the team, our members and the board that we've been able to maintain a really strong financial position that I'm reporting to you on today. Within our financial report, you'll see that it includes our joint committees, such as Young Business Edge, Business Women Albury Wodonga, and Albury Wodonga Business Awards. You can see that there's been an impact of COVID-19 on each of these joint committees, but yet they've been able to preserve their place within our business community through adapting activities with our members. Before the closure of the financial year, we saw ABC host a special general meeting where we were able to update our organisation's constitution to reflect the change to our not-for-profit status. And the status change results in ABC obtaining an income tax exemption under section 50-10 in the Income Tax Act. And we sincerely thank our members for rallying behind us in support of that special general meeting that we had to host to get these changes to the Constitution. So our auditors report once again reflects ABC's strong position, and it really reinforces the confidence that we have in our internal practices within our organisation with our team and obviously our board. Throughout the pandemic, we've been able to access stimulus packages on offer through both state and federal funding, which has assisted ABC to continue to support and advocate on behalf of our members. And this has resulted in a surplus of $102,546 for the 2021 financial year, which is a great result. Moving forward, this puts ABC in a cash positive position, which allows the board and the operations team to continue to implement the new systems to create efficiencies and a higher level of service to our members and our stakeholders. We look forward to continuing our work within the 2022 financial year by welcoming our new board members and continuing to uphold the meaningful position we have within the business community. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Celeste. We appreciate the work you do as our Treasurer. Up next to deliver the Young Business Edge report is Angela Larkin. When you're ready, Ange, take it away.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I would firstly like to thank Lisa and the team for giving me the opportunity or the excuse to at least put some makeup on and wash my hair. So thank you for that. It is my pleasure to provide an update on all things Young Business Edge today. And what I thought I would do is just share 3 of the key highlights from the 2020-2021 financial year. Firstly, the first highlight is our events, and we started off the year with online events as you would expect. We did a few YBE business stories where people jumped online and shared their business stories, and we also had a wine and cheese Zoom night with our very own Alex Berry, so thank you, Alex. Finally, at the start of 2021, we were able to get back to face-to-face events, which is what our community loved the most. And we held 2 meet and mingles, which are more of an informal networking opportunity. And we find that a lot of people, particularly who are new to the region, will come to these events. So it's a really good opportunity for them to connect in with the young business community. And our most successful event for the year would have been our Property 101 event that we held in June, where we had 4 speakers from the property industry talk about what's happening locally in the property market, which is still a very hot topic, and also share their advice for people looking to get into the property market or expand their portfolio. So that was a really well attended and valuable event. The second highlight I'd like to share is around our outcomes that we achieved. And I think it comes back to the core of what we do, and that's connecting people. And we were certainly able to do that over the year, despite all of the challenges that came up against us. The other key highlight in terms of outcomes was going through the rebrand process. And you can see YBE has a fresh new look, and I think it really reflects who we are and what we try to do as a group and as a subcommittee of Albury Business Connect and Business Wodonga. We also launched a new social platform on Instagram, so we've been able to build up our followers both there and on Facebook as well. And the third highlight that I wanted to share was all around our people, and we have such a dynamic and passionate group of people involved in Young Business Edge, whether it's the committee itself or the people who attend our events, or the support we get through Albury Business Connect, Business Wodonga, and also business women who we like to work with where we can. Thanks, Des. She likes to give us some advice as well when she can, which is really good. And in terms of the committee, we farewelled our former chair, Emma Kirkbride from ANZ, Nathan Sigmund from BMG Partners, Dale Goonan from Johnson's MME, Emma Krautz from Best Western Hobbletree Inn, and more recently, John Gray from Adroit Risk and Insurance. And we'd like to give them a very big thank you for all of their contributions to YBE. We, over the year, welcomed a number of new committee members who have hit the ground running and are great contributors to what we do. We welcomed Brooke Beeston from Beeston Rose Hair Co, Hannah Lee Walkie from Walkie Schnauzers, and Chloe Lurs from DLG earlier in the year. And more recently, that's not included in the report, but I just would like to mention, we've also welcomed Marnie King from ALG Group, Cassie Sutcliffe from the Happy Hens Eggs, Daniel Anderson from Lightning IP, Hamish Jasper from APM Employment Services, and Zoe Clark from Georgette Neame Real Estate. So a really great group of people, and it's an honour to work with all of the amazing people that get involved with Young Business Edge. So thank you very much for the time. If anyone ever wants to chat Young Business Edge, more than happy to do so. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Ange, and congratulations to you and the committee for all the events that you've pulled together this year for the emerging business leaders in our community. I'd like to now welcome Businesswomen Albury Wodonga Chair Desiree Giorgio. Welcome, Des.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, everybody. I'd like to start by thanking Lisa and the entire ABC team for everything that they give, not only to businesswomen, but also to Angela and the board as well, especially Barry and Rebecca. You guys take some interesting phone calls from me at odd hours of the day, and I really do appreciate it, and so does our entire committee. 2020 was very interesting for everybody, also for businesswomen. We saw 14 online virtual events, which I don't think is ever heard of for most organisations, let alone a voluntary organisation like ourselves. We also saw our very first Zoom gala, which was streamed out to, I believe, over 100 homes, and a very small, intimate event for sponsors. So that was something that we weren't sure if we could pull off, but we did, and it was just really nice to give back to the community by being able to do that in amongst, you know, an epidemic and something that nobody ever thought would happen. We have had a lot of changes in our committee. I'm not going to go through all of them today because I'll be here forever, but this is my first year as chair, alongside Carly Carr as my deputy, my wing woman, as I like to refer to her as. But yeah, we have had quite a few changes, and we're very excited for next year. We have put on hold all of our events for the remainder of 2021, sorry. We are having a little Christmas party, but everything else has been put on hold, including gala. We've decided to open the 2022 season with gala. So that has been moved through to there, which we're actually very excited about. This year, our main event, we managed to squeeze in International Women's Day. I don't know how, but we managed 300 people in an event in the middle of a pandemic. So I'm quite proud of that. But, you know, our main thing to close off the year is that we have been able to continue everything as some sort of normal. Our mentor program has been a huge success this year, even though there was no events. And, you know, our sponsors, we were able to retain those throughout the year. We will be opening up sponsor applications shortly for next year, as well as the mentor program. But at this point in time, we're hoping to be able to continue that support that we give back to the community with all the connections, whether it's virtual or in person. And we're looking forward to more events, more speakers, and most importantly, connecting and building those relationships going into 2022. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Des. Congratulations to the Business Women Committee. You've still been able to deliver valuable events to your followers, and we look forward to seeing a few more in person in 2022. Again, I can't thank enough the subcommittees. You are a remarkable group of volunteers who provide so much value to our community. So thank you. I'd now like to invite the returning officer to announce the results of the 21-22 board elections. There has, however, been a late change, and I invite Ross Dixon to unmute himself and on behalf of James Smith, announce the new board.
Good afternoon. My name's Ross Dixon and I, on behalf of James Smith, the returning officer for the 2021 board elections, I'm here to provide the details of the e-ballot and announce the 2021-2022 board. 5 nominations were received for 3 available director positions on the ABC Board of Directors. An e-ballot was necessary to determine the successful nominations, and voting opened on the 1st of October and closed on the 15th of October. I'm happy to announce the following successful nominations were Simone Crichton from Home Instead, Megan Gardner from the Mercure Hotel, and Steve Owens from Accomplished Biz. To the unsuccessful candidates, thank you for your interest and commitment in nominating for the roles. I'm sure ABC will find a way to include you in some capacity going forwards. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome back to the board Steve Owens and congratulate Simone and Megan. Your new board met on Monday and elected the executive team. I'd like to introduce the re-elected ABC Chair, Barry Young, to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone, thank the board for their faith in me to continue on as chair. It's a really privilege and an honour to lead such an inspiring, dedicated group of people. Just like to thank Hamish Taylor, an outgoing board member, for his contribution, as well as Graham Chapman, an amazing couple of people that have dedicated a lot of time to our board, and really welcome Simone and Meg onto the board, a couple of real dynamos that really are going to have a massive impact for our community and for our board. So we welcome them, and also welcome Steve back as well. And yeah, just to our members, I think you can be assured of our continued commitment to you all. We're here to build a better community, a better board business community, and really invest a lot of time in making sure that we are all successful and that we enjoy each other's success. So thank you to the board for again electing me to chair. I really look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you, Ross, for doing that. Congratulations to Simone and Megan and Steve. I'd also like to extend my thanks to Hamish Taylor and Graham Chapman for their contributions. The board has a great energy and optimism, and on behalf of the operationals team, we look forward to working with them to deliver on objectives for the 21-22 year. Well, that officially concludes the AGM, but don't switch off just yet. Please stay with us for our guest speakers. Our local member for Albury, Justin Clancy, sends his apologies, as he would have liked to have joined us today. He did, however, send a message by video, which I'll play now.
Sorry that I can't be this evening for the AGM for Albury Business Connect. I do want to take the opportunity firstly to thank Albury Business Connect, to Lisa, to Barry, to the team. Thank you for your work. It's been a challenging 12 to 18 months. And then most importantly, to the businesses out there. As I said, it has been difficult. It's been a testing time. I want to thank you for your patience, your perseverance. And I want to say to you that I hope in the months ahead, one of the real challenges is as we go from this period of crisis back to a more normal sense of business as usual. Please take the time, keep looking after your team, but please take the opportunity to look after yourself and your family, because at the end of the day, you are such a crucial part of our business community. We thank you for the work that you do. Take care and all the best. Sorry.
Oh, we're going again there. Sorry about that. Thanks to Justin. He's obviously done a lot of work advocating for our community, and we thank him for that. I'd like to now welcome Anthony Mcfarland of Business New South Wales, the regional management. Sorry, I'm just trying to coordinate my slides here, so I'm a bit distracted. Anthony works tirelessly representing our region on behalf of Albury Business Connect. We thank you for your collaborative and meaningful working relationship. Thanks, Anthony, when you're ready.
Thank you, Lisa, and Barry, and congratulations to the incoming board. It's yeah, a really exciting lineup. In my role as regional manager for Business New South Wales, and I look after the Murray River Riverina region, I'm able to see how local chambers stack up against each other across the region and across the state. And it certainly goes without saying that Albury Business Connect is very highly regarded across the chamber movement and by Business New South Wales for their strong governance, their collaborative nature, the advocacy that you guys do, and the support for member businesses, whether that be professional development or you know, various activations. And that has been you know, especially seen through things like the Albury CBD activations, and certainly looking forward to what's on the horizon with the parklets, the gift card program, mental health support for businesses, you know, and also not to mention, you know, the redevelopment of the website and the brand. And that's certainly been something that other smaller chambers have looked on and learned from Albury. And I know Lisa and also Carrick were very good at, you know, sharing that information. So I just wanted to firstly mention that and recognise the great work that you guys do, and also Albury City Council for the support that they provide to make this possible, and that partnership approach that Albury City plays in the chamber movement. But Lisa asked me to make a few brief comments about how we are travelling, and you know, to quote a newly minted New South Wales Premier, I think the future is bright, and especially if we can move past this world of COVID restrictions and stick to the recovery roadmap. Over the last 18 months, we've seen time and time again that when restrictions are eased, our economy bounces back, and often the best form of government support is for government to get out of the way and let businesses get on with what they do best. Now, as we move into recovery phase, I think, you know, and this is certainly something that Business New South Wales has been advocating for, is a tapering of support for those industries most significantly impacted while their customers and visitors return. And, you know, especially tourism, hospitality, and the event space, whether that be through the tapering of JobSaver or other support packages. And only this morning, the New South Wales government has announced a new $500 million, and you know, some of these numbers stop meaning anything, but it is a meaningful announcement around both tourism and event support. Now, you might have seen there's, in addition to the Dine and Discover vouchers, a new $50 accommodation voucher that will become available and will be able to be used across the state. But I think also in terms of, you know, building confidence in our region, this new Event Saver Fund, which is a fund that will allow events organisers to claim against if their events are disrupted or cancelled. That's going to be important in, you know, encouraging events and certainly building confidence. And it's something that just gives that little extra assurance that, you know, events organisers aren't going to be left in the lurch. And certainly a lack of events and you know, business travel is certainly impacted locally. But looking, you know, across the region, you know, again, the fundamentals of our regional economy are again cause for optimism. Last September, we conducted our quarterly business conditions survey, and thank you to those out there who got involved and completed that. And surprisingly, you know, as you can imagine, with that sort of a survey, and it was before the roadmap was announced, it's pretty negative. But you know, one of the causes for optimism for our region is that the Murray region had the most positive outlook for the New South Wales economy and for business conditions generally, despite what's been happening on the border. And that has been something that has, you know, since I came into the role, that I've observed that we have tracked higher in terms of business confidence, which is really good. And, you know, asking why is that? I think our manufacturing, our agricultural and our construction industries do provide that two-speed economy. And, you know, like if we look at agriculture, what an amazing set of, you know, conditions that have come together: strong commodity prices, strong livestock prices, you know, low cost of debt, ideal seasonal conditions, which continue to support that industry. But looking at, you know, the recent NAB survey, I think, you know, we are certainly watching inflation. We're watching input prices, whether that be fuel or labour, and also what's happening with supply chain constraints. So on the domestic front, for our own back pockets, you would have noticed if you got your latest super statement, that's looking pretty healthy, as are our residential values. And, you know, year to date, the Murray region has grown at about 20% in terms of residential values, which is, you know, outstripping certain metropolitan CBDs, including Melbourne. So, you know, happy days, and that I think will continue to be backed in by a strong regional migration. Another thing that's going to help our economy, which will, although we don't have all these projects within Albury, but they're on our back doorstep, there is a significant investment, both you know, private and public, in infrastructure projects, somewhere in the order of $20 billion. And over the construction phase of these projects, we're looking at somewhere in the order of 5,000 to 6,000 jobs. And when I talk about that infrastructure, it's Snowy 2.0, Energy Connect, which is the high transmission line from Wagga to South Australia that commences construction, I think, next year. Inland Rail, Hume Link, the defence base upgrades, and the renewable energy zones. That's also going to continue to drive economic growth, but also create a few headaches, whether that be you know, on the labour front or the housing front. So watch that space. But I think you know, in reflecting on why, you know, we saw at Business New South Wales some of the impressive businesses on show that took out some of the recent Murray Riverina Business Awards. Albury had a good chunk of those winners, which will now go on to the state awards. So congratulations to those businesses. But just in closing, one last thing that I thought I would mention: if you are a business out there that does, you know, is confused with everything that is going on the COVID front and are looking for assistance, Albury Business Connect members are provided with 3 free calls to our workplace advice line, which, just for a shameless plug, is 13 29 59. But that's something that is, you know, able to be accessed, you know, at least 9 to 5, and is great, especially, you know, with questions around, you know, employer responsibilities on the vaccination front, and you know, working through the myriad of issues that have, you know, popped up on that front, and also you know, public health order compliance when it comes to business obligations. So that advice line is certainly getting a workout like never before, and over 50% of those calls are COVID related. So we will look to run another webinar in the next few weeks on that workplace front, just to help out businesses. But you know, please reach out if you've got any questions on that front. But Lisa, I might hand back to you.
Thank you, Anthony. We really appreciate that update, and it's wonderful that we've got you located in Albury whilst you are right across the Murray region. I think it's great to have you on the ground here. That information about support for tourism and events will be very well received. And that number again, if you missed it, 13 29 59. I'll now invite Barry Young, our re-elected chair, to facilitate our session with Stephen Capello, CEO of Hume Bank, and Michael Mack, CEO of WAW, to chat all things local economy, COVID and borrowing. There will be an opportunity to ask some questions at the end. So Barry will facilitate anyone that'd like to unmute and ask questions at the end. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Anthony, as well. I'd like to thank Stephen and Michael for making themselves available today. I really understand how busy their schedules are, so for you guys to make some time to have a discussion with Albury Business Connect members is really appreciated. I can't thank you enough. Hopefully out of this we get some enlightenment as to your role, your organisations play in our community, and hopefully gain a better understanding or clearer understanding of our local economy. And as Anthony mentioned just there seems to be a sense of optimism around post-COVID recovery. So we're really interested, Stephen and Michael, to get your thoughts on how you think that post-COVID recovery will look. I guess the first question I could pose to you would be, when COVID began, nearly 2 years ago now, would you believe, there was a lot of concern people had, particularly around the health of businesses. There were concerns about business closures, cash flow implications, and a whole range of things that businesses would have to navigate to survive the COVID crisis. I want to get a feeling from you guys what you are seeing from your business customers, how they positioned, and how would you rate the financial health of businesses currently?
Well, thanks Barry and Lisa, and it's great to be able to speak with Michael. Michael and I have a very close relationship, both banks on the border. So great that we've been able to come together. And hello to all the members on the line. That's a very good question up front, and what I can say is that it has been and is ongoing a high level of uncertainty in the economy. And you know, many of us, when we first started out, many businesses, when COVID started to hit, the pandemic started to kind of wind its way through various government responses in early quarter of last year, there was you know, really a sense of preparing for the worst. And that preparation, there was no guidebook for many of our business customers, including, I'm sure, Hume. We didn't have a guidebook, and perhaps Michael did one, but I certainly didn't get access to it. But in reality, what we have found that despite some of the uncertainty, it's only some specific sectors that we saw that were most hard hit, namely in retail, hospitality, and if you were some, or the unfortunate, some of the banks that had specific attachment to sectors such as aviation, those sectors and tourism, they were most hard hit. But we've certainly found that over the last 18 months, most of the local businesses have been quite resilient. They've transformed to alternative business models, alternative distribution models, and with some of them improving performance during the pandemic on the back of some government support. So whilst we did have some businesses that were impacted, and we did support those businesses through various loan deferral schemes, relief on repayments, what is pleasing is that all of those business customers that were supported by Hume, they have reverted back to performing. And that's a real positive message to the community. The same has been the case on personal lending. So we, off the top of my head, I think we had around 300 customers, up to 80, 90 million of personal customers that sought relief and support from the bank. They've all converted back or reverted back to performing loans. Another example, I think, that demonstrates the resilience of the local economy and businesses alike. There were some various government schemes that were made available to banks, and one of the schemes we tapped into to provide our local businesses, customers and non, was the federal government's SME recovery loan scheme. And we didn't have a single applicant for that loan scheme, which is again an example of the resilience that we found in the economy. And whilst this has indicated that the local economy is strong, there's diversity, It's capable of weathering some of the most significant storms we've seen, or economic storms we've seen. Certainly, we're not out of the woods yet, and there does remain some ongoing challenges. We've seen recently how quickly both state and federal government are willing to lock down either LGAs or borders. This has major implications for businesses on the border on either side. And we're also seeing structural shifts when it comes to certain industries. We're seeing structural shifts when it comes to customer behaviours, and these are challenging business continuity, or the ability businesses can operate successfully and sustainably over the medium and long term. So whilst there's no magic answer to resolve the issues that businesses are facing, one thing the pandemic has taught us is that there's a real need now to reassess businesses' value proposition, your customer value proposition, how you deliver this as an organisation and as a business, what models you're adopting, and clearly the need to build in ongoing flexibility and be able to shift and pivot as we work through what I believe is a fundamentally changed customer and operating landscape for most industries across Australia. So that's Barry. That's probably where I've seen it landing over the past 18 months now.
Thanks for that insight, Stephen. Michael, is that your experience? Would you like to add anything to what Stephen's presented there?
Yeah, hi, Barry. No, look, I'm conscious of the time and the block, and a lot of the experiences that Stephen's outlined are really similar at WAW, and where our focus has been is getting out of the way and giving businesses and the community a chance to to deal with this level of uncertainty, without putting other hurdles in place. And that kind of sounds simple, and I think it's important for all of us to know that thinking's going on, but it's a lot harder to do in such a highly regulated and structured industry as banking. But yeah, look, again, I'm conscious of the time. We've got a few questions to get through, so I concur with Stephen's comments.
Thanks, Michael. One of the things COVID has really done is it's increased or fast-tracked the use of technology, such as e-commerce, investment in software, online video events and meetings. What's your business changed or implemented regarding technology to improve your business position?
Yes, it's. I think the fact that we're on Zoom for AGMs, we've got our AGM tomorrow. We're the same, Barry. So, and in many ways, like most organisations, Hume wasn't prepared for COVID, like many organisations, but we responded pretty well. And we responded by implementing technology, both on the operational side and also the customer side. We're probably fortunate that all of our staff, apart from our branch staff, were able to transition to working from home virtually within the first week. That was a challenge in itself to get everyone set up with all the connectivity and all the physical equipment. But we managed to do that. So every one of our staff can work from home. We implemented technology, collaboration technology like Microsoft Teams, and that really has been a game changer for us in terms of providing staff that flexibility. And it's meant that we've been able to remain connected as an organisation, but also moving forward at the same time. As a business, we also implemented some what may be small but significant changes to enable customers also to operate with new technology. We implemented digital signatures, something that we hadn't been able to do in 4 years. We were able to do in 4 weeks or 6 weeks. So that's just an example of, if you really are faced with a challenge that needs to be overcome, you can actually make those changes. So in that respect, printing virtually vanished in around that 4-week time. Customers, we implemented new technology to enable customers to meet staff, to have advice sessions. That's shortened lead times and approval time, so that allows customers to actually get in their homes quicker, refinance quicker. And importantly, we invested a lot of time transitioning customers over to existing technology, and those technology channels, we put in new contact center technology, and importantly, we strengthened a lot of our cybersecurity capabilities on the back of it. So you've just got to appreciate that if staff are logging in remotely and using technology. Customers are putting loads on the system. The whole operating landscape of banking is changing. So importantly, for the security and safety of members and customers, we've spent a lot of investment uplifting cybersecurity as well.
Terrific, thank you, Stephen. A lot of these questions are framed around COVID, obviously, because it's been a dominant part of our lives now for 2 years. I guess it's had an impact on everyone in the community, both negatively and positively in some respects. What can you tell us about the financial positions of our locals and our businesses in terms of cash saving rates? Are they higher than you would have expected? Could this lead to a larger localised spending when people are able to get out and spend a little bit more? Certainly as a retailer, I'm hoping there's a pent-up appetite for people to spend, particularly over this Christmas period. What are you guys experiencing in this?
Yeah, thanks, Barry. I think that one's for me. So, look, at the outset, we're really optimistic about what the near term holds, and I think it's a great question, because there's no doubt that what we've seen is that COVID is really a tale of two realities, and I don't need to tell a lot of you that we have the utmost respect for small business people out there operating in any environment, let alone one that's been so unpredictable and challenging as we've seen the last 18 months. And of course, we can't forget that bushfires ravaged our region just before that. So it's been a tough gig for a lot of you. But on one hand, there's no disputing that we are seeing the financial position of our consumer accounts and our business accounts, remaining in really good shape, and beyond what we were sort of looking and planning in the early stages and the depths of the initial phase of COVID. For example, there's some general statistics out there. Our account balances with our business accounts over the last 12 to 18 months are up by almost 50% since April last year. And I understand that's not, statistics can cover up a lot of pain, but in general terms, that's a fairly significant shift that we're seeing. But also non-business accounts, consumer accounts, are up even higher. So we're seeing, 52, 53% growth in account balances, which for context, we're not talking about small sums of money. We're talking about growth in the order of, tens of millions of dollars and, hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, even with organisations like WOW and Hume, which don't have the scale of the major banks, but there's incredible sums of money that the region trusts us to look after. So, but on the other hand, we're seeing patches of pressure. Our casual workforces are under significant strain, lots of uncertainty. Again, I appreciate that the audience knows this better than me, but we are seeing gaps for those people that were working in the gig economy, and trying to roll out programs that provide them an opportunity to get in front of these issues and start to plan for their future, but also patch up some of the debt that they've had to take on over the last 12 months or so. We're also seeing some challenges though in community organisations and clubs, and they're critical to our region. Someone who was born and bred in our local region and moved away for some years and came back. It's become increasingly prevalent in my time at WOW to see how we can support these community organisations. They're the fabric of what we do. Whether they're arts, sport, they're just critical to what we do outside of these Zoom sessions and our weekdays. And we're seeing that balances in accounts, pressure on financing, the grants process is difficult at times, and so we are seeing a little bit of pain there. Some other factors that I'd like to comment on, insights into statistics coming from our participation rate as well in things like the government announced an SME guarantee lending scheme. They also did, the second thing is during the depths of the pandemic, APRA, which is one of our primary regulators, introduced the COVID hardship loan scheme where people could basically take a break from their repayments. And I think the proof is in the pudding in terms of how our businesses have gone through this journey, and certainly our consumers, because we had next to no take-up rate. Not everyone participated in the SME guarantee lending scheme. And for those that may not be aware, that basically provided an opportunity for the government to guarantee debt and allow banks and customer-owned organisations like ours and Hume's to take some more risks than we ordinarily might do because of that guarantee. But there was very little take-up in the initial phases of the scheme, at least that we saw. And then when it came to COVID hardship, I think Stephen commented earlier, we were really lucky that I think we got to a maximum of just, 4% of our loan book, 3 or 4% of our loan book entered into COVID hardship provisions. And I think the banking sector as a whole was well over 10. So, there's a couple of factors that suggested that things weren't as bad as they could have been. And, probably in summary, Barry, notwithstanding the fact that we haven't really had anywhere to go in the last 18 months, we are seeing a pretty sizable deleveraging going on in the community where people are selling out investment properties, and there's huge amounts of cash pouring into accounts for those lucky enough to be in that situation, which, is what we're watching. But also on the downside, we've got some concerns about growing inequality, in our community with booming asset prices and, land supply constraints and a return of investors to the market, which is really pushing our first home buyers really out to, to some pressure points with their borrowing. So there's, sort of a couple of ideas of what we're seeing in terms of, the impacts, both good and bad, on the community from COVID.
Thanks, Michael. And I guess on those points, as we move to, post-COVID recovery phase, some businesses, as you say, have done and thrived throughout COVID. And I think a lot of businesses would be planning, particularly over the next 12 months, planning for a lot of growth, particularly in the next 12 months. What advice would you give them about getting ready now, their businesses ready now to bring on maybe smaller or larger amounts of debts in order to grow?
Yeah, another tough one really, because there's so much knowledge out there in the small business community that banks have got to be careful trying to tell everyone how to suck eggs. But in general terms, I guess what I'd offer is that as a starting point, we kind of see, and this is in some senses the way our organisation is responding to this, is to look at, as you're planning for these issues, just kind of look at COVID in three phases. The first phase was our initial response, and that's where we have a look at, what we had to deal with against that incredible amount of uncertainty and how we responded. That's sort of the first phase. And then the second phase is as we take those steps toward recovery, and we're all at different stages of that, but that's where we take time to reflect what worked and what didn't, and specifically in terms of your banking facilities, your access to credit and cash flow. You're really going to be able to sit back and look at what was of benefit and what scared the living daylights out of you when you picked up the phone and realised that the facility may not have been what you hoped it would be. And the third phase as you're approaching this is to say, of course, and Stephen touched on this earlier, but how do we thrive in the future? There's incredible amounts of innovation and energy and passion out there in our community, and it's a credit to all of you. But there's no question that there's going to be a new normal, and that's the case for nearly all of our sectors. And I think we have to design now around a new normal that's got a lot more uncertainty. And so, the final point I'd make on that more specifically is it'd be absolutely well worth a careful review of what your previous assumptions in your business about your cash flows and our margins and our facilities has been. The past is important, but it's not a really reliable indicator for what we're going to come up against. So we're seeing a lot of pressure building in terms of margins because of supply side issues. The building sector is a classic example where they're repricing contracts by 3 or 5% every quarter. Hospitality is going through huge challenges at the moment with such high commodity prices and inputs. So, running a restaurant or a cafe and trying to get those products in, it's really going to present risks. So, we'd be encouraging businesses to really look at those assumptions carefully. But again, look back over those phases to understand, how did you perform in each one of them, and what would you change in a future that's going to be much less certain, I think, than the one we've come from.
Thank you, Michael. The next question, I guess, revolves around what the impacts of lockdowns and probably border closures specifically to our region have had on, I guess, interest from capital cities in investment in our region. We know, I guess, from what we read about the significant interest coming from the capital cities in our region. Have you seen that impacted by those border closures and COVID-related issues?
I think this one is me again for everyone. Sorry, not trying to hog the limelight there, but yeah, look, it's a shame I missed some of Anthony's presentation. I've been on done some work with Anthony in the group as we worked on the regional deal and looked really closely at some of our economic statistics. But one of the issues we have is a lack of access to reliable data, and I think it's out there, but I think it comes from a couple of different sources. But I thought I'd take a general view about this one. We're certainly seeing an appetite for investment. There's no question. There's an article from KPMG out recently that sort of mapped the movement of investors out of the major, eastern seaboard cities of Melbourne and Sydney, and it almost, it played out in a hugely correlated that, the investors move out like a ring to places like Geelong, and then they went to, the Ballarat and Bendigo, and then further on and eventually sort of hit a bit like a wave in Albury-Wodonga. And that was the same that we were seeing from Sydney, where, initially there's moves to, north to places like, Gosford and, but also areas like Orange and then Wagga and again, sort of Albury-Wodonga. And, I think they got it the wrong way around, just quietly being a bit parochial about our region. But it was just amazing to see that correlation as they mapped that over the last 18 months. We're seeing on the ground a massive increase in interest in residential property, and a lot of our borrowers are sort of coming back on the Monday morning after an auction and complaining about the strong bids coming from Melbourne and Sydney. And I especially feel for the first home buyers that I've got a price in their mind and they're not even getting their hand up for the bid. I think a lot of us have seen that in auction. But one of the issues that we have is we're not getting enough insight to how that's translating, for your organisations into spending and job creation, economic development. We're just not getting that data, and it's probably not necessarily our role to get that data. But I think there is, you've got sources out there. I'd recommend having a look at the Regional Australia Institute, which tries to provide a bit of data, and they're really bullish on moves, the movement to regional area. I think they indicated the Murray region was seeing a 48% increase in relocations of people from Metro. The other side of this, though, that we're certainly seeing is that people who might have thought about moving to a capital city are certainly weighing that up again in the background of all the lockdowns and the challenges. So I think that also is supporting growth. And creating pressure and, supply of land, of course. But, and I think the one final point worth mentioning as we look at the interest from capital cities that probably is coming at us, if it's not here already, is this idea of the Great Resignation. Some of you, for those of you, you've probably all heard about it, but it's really a view out there that there's a significant shift in employee intentions to leave their jobs. And I think Microsoft is probably the most recent. They did a big global survey of the workforce, and it indicated that twice as many employees plan to leave their jobs in the future, and it's predicted to sort of hit our shores in March 2022. How they come up with these dates is beyond me, but I guess I just wanted to make that point for all of our local businesses. It could present a bit of upside. People mostly are leaving big corporate jobs in the cities and looking for roles with a bit more purpose, and hopefully that benefits companies like the ones that Stephen and I work for, which put a lot of stock in the purpose of what we do, not just the numbers that we churn out. But it could also create some pressure if you've got staff in there that you're worried about. And I know there's a bit of a supply issue, skill shortage issue. Well, it's certainly something that's on people's minds a lot more now than it was 6 or 12 months ago.
Thank you, Michael. Probably this one to you, Stephen. It's probably a simple question, really, but I've got a feeling it's going to require a complex answer. Is what role do banks play in our community? Basically, Steve, we got some insight for that for us.
I'll try to make it as actually simple as possible. Just following up, touching on a point that Michael made, I actually believe the Great Resignation is already on Australian shores. You know, the data that we're receiving and the insights that we're receiving across all segments, the level of talent movement across jobs is quite significant. So I know Microsoft may predict it's coming, but yeah, evidence suggests that it's already here. Barry, what role do banks play, and certainly in the community? And I want to start off by answering that question just to highlight the difference in operating model, specifically the legal status of the banks Michael and I are very fortunate to be able to lead. And we're very different in the first instance to listed banks because we have a different ownership structure, and that ownership structure is based on customers are also the owners, so customer-owned banking. A single decision point benefits both customers and owners in our case because they're one and the same. So when we're making a decision that may impact either side, it's removed to a significant extent as opposed to a listed organisation. We play an important role in the community on a number of fronts. The traditional front, as I'm sure everyone is aware of, we move capital. We move capital throughout the economy, and that plays an important role. We do that first and foremost by providing access to funds, and more affordable funds, to either businesses or individuals, and mostly in individuals in the form of mortgages. And we used to be, or a lot of people say that building societies or credit unions were the first peer-to-peer lenders. And so we provide access to funds, supporting people getting into their own homes sooner, supporting development sooner, and that then has a flow-on effect of supporting the local construction industry and anything attached to that industry. We provide access to credit for businesses to grow and operate, and then again that has a flow-on effect in terms of supporting economic growth, entrepreneurship, employment. Importantly, we provide a safe place for deposits and to grow your savings. And something that I'm sure everyone can see is WAW and Hume collectively have the largest branch network in the region, providing that point-to-point access. It should be not surprising that the majors have been closing branches, and there are many regional communities not very far from Albury-Wodonga, where WAW Hume are the last branch service providers in those towns, and we play a very critical role in supporting those local communities. And we provide the ability for community funds in the truest sense to work for the community, stay in the economy, and collectively build for, I'm sure what we all aim for is a prosperous future. The important thing, an important point of differentiation is that by placing your funds with a community bank, you know that your funds are being used for good causes with a positive social impact, as opposed to placing your funds or using larger corporations and larger listed entities. What your money is being used for and where it is being used for is probably beyond beyond the information that's available to the average deposit holder that we support locally. So equally important, and perhaps if there's further questions around that place, is how we actually conduct our business and what makes us different. But I want to end by saying that both of us, I think Michael touched on this, that we both play a pretty important part in actually the employment game. We're both major employers. We provide both organisations provide careers in financial services that is not very common in local regional areas. And the fact that both of us are playing a role in somewhat of a circular economy, where the more the community supports both WAW and Hume, the more the bank grows, the more the bank prospers, the more we employ local people. So, and although not in the true sense of a circular economy, there is a circular benefit in terms of supporting community-based organisations like the both of us. So, Barry, hopefully that's given a flavour. There is a lot more. There's a lot more technicality behind how banks operate, but from a community sense, they're the key points I'd bring forth. You're on mute.
Right, mate, that's better. Probably leads to a question as well. Hopefully, just to wrap up from my perspective, is I guess the benefits of local businesses utilising local community financial institutions. You touched on a little bit there, Stephen, but obviously, hopefully give you guys the opportunity to pitch your business or pitch a sales pitch to say why it's important for local businesses to support community banks.
It's a very it's a great question. A great question to end on. There's a lot of similarities between banking, but there's a lot of points of differentiation as well. And it's the value that local community-based organisations bring that is fairly prominent. And firstly, we're customer owned. And I mentioned how we're effectively created by the community for the community. The Hume and WOW history is a rich history. It was one of the first things that I certainly read when I joined Hume, and and I'm still fortunate enough to lead a great organisation. But that rich history is really cemented locally. It builds the culture, it builds the behaviours, and those ethics and behaviours drives an elevated level of trust. You don't need to look far for a demonstration of that. Recently, back on the Royal Commission, no customer-owned banks, and certainly WAW and Hume played a part in the findings of the Royal Commission, and it's evidence for me that the ethics and behaviours drive an elevated level of trust in the community. We're certainly community focused. I think both organisations support local businesses, we employ local people, and we've got the history and longevity to support it. Local knowledge, Michael gave a great example in answering one of the questions about the local knowledge that both CEOs bring to the community, and the ability to participate in community initiatives, the ability for the organisation as a collective to keep our finger on the pulse and understand community issues and opportunities when they present themselves. One of the areas that we both excel at is providing both products and services that are not complex. And there's a reason for removing complexity. There's a reason why we don't build in onerous catches and we communicate clearly, because the element of trust needs to be quite prominent in the way we deliver. Our pricing is most definitely fairer and sharper in the market. Our service levels are personalised, and that's a key point of differentiation that we provide, where customers feel they can have a conversation, customers feel they can be heard. And importantly, I think both organisations operate fundamentally differently when it comes to empowering staff. And so the ability for local organisations, local businesses to come in and deal with people that can make decisions which support the trajectory of either your personal journey or your business journey is fundamentally different to a large organisation which has such a high level of hierarchy and governance in place. So I want to end, and consciously we've probably only got a minute to go. I believe we do things better than the majors, and both organisations do it better than the majors. I would encourage everyone on the call to test that. We partner with local organisations, we support the economy, we get to know our customers, and importantly that shines through in the relationships that we try to build. So perhaps if Michael's got anything more to add on that last point, but I would encourage everyone to try a different or an alternative service provider or bank. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by both organisations and how much we can deliver value to you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. And, gee, Barry, this is great news, because if we don't grow, I can now blame Steve Capello. I can go to our board meetings and say, look, he had the sales pitch and enormous amounts of pressure. So, you know, good on you. Thanks for taking the lead on that. I really just had a couple of things at the end of the day, and that is to say how many, I think, and Hume is doing the same, we need to flip the idea of, you know, why should locals support local financial institutions? I think if we start from the idea that how do we support local people, how do we support local businesses, then the other stuff can take care of itself. And at the end of the day, how many of us have been stuck on the phone trying to sort out an issue with a really large organisation or trying to get an answer, you know, from a major bank? And at the end of the day, beyond a lot of the things that you know, I'm passionate about in our region, and Stephen is too, about the economic contribution, it's a financial impact on your organisations to get quick answers and clarity. Even at times, if that answer is no, we can't help, and here are the reasons why, I think all of us would be able to walk away saying, oh, geez, thank goodness, at least I know where I stand, you know, and just the amount of money that it costs people to go through the grind of dealing in financial services is a real problem, and it's something that, you know, we certainly spend a lot of time on, and Hume is very good at as well. So I'd just probably end on a couple of those observations.
Yeah, thank you, Michael and Stephen. Before I throw it open to questions, I'd like to thank you both. You know, Hume and WAW are really invested into our local communities, and so are Michael and Stephen. So they're really, you know, not only do they support local businesses, local families, and employ local people, but they do an amazing amount to support local community groups. So I would encourage all of our members to have a conversation with both organisations should you need financial for your business or personal finance advice. Certainly these guys should be in the conversation whenever you do that. So thank you both, and I'd love to throw it open for any questions out there. Sean, is that a hand up? Any questions from out there?
I did see Tracy Squire in the audience. Surely, Tracy, you've got a question as a former WAW colleague from many years ago. I bet that's some trivia you all didn't know about Tracy.
Thanks, Michael. And look, thanks to you and Stephen for sharing your insights. And I think, and I can't recall which one of you said this, but you know, you made the comment about the visibility of the landscape and the data to really build understanding around migration movement. And unfortunately, the data that we rely on comes from the ABS census. So even though they'll do adjustments each year, they don't necessarily give you a really clear understanding of what's happening on the ground. So yeah, I think that is a challenge for us all. And a lot of the data that is available is based on projections and estimates, which I guess is better than nothing in the absence of certainty. We will be putting out our economic indicators report for the Albury economy in the next couple of months, and that will look over that previous period. So that will give us some further insights, but it won't talk a lot about migration because we rely on that ABS data. Within about 12 months, we should have a much better picture of that. But yeah, I guess, you know, no questions, but I do really appreciate the insights that you've shared. And I think as a community, we need to be very grateful that we've got two banks acting locally with the interests of local people at heart, because that's not something that a lot of regional communities have the benefit of.
If I can, Barry, through the chair, just, you know, thanks, Tracy. I know I'm going to cop it from you when I see you next. But I think, you know, we've sort of got some ideas, a question about what role can we play. You know, we're just one business in a community, and we've sort of fortunate position in many respects. But, you know, we've got some ideas, I think, about how we can partner, you know, with councils and our local universities and other organisations that Anthony represents to really do a better job at this, and perhaps create an advantage for our region in terms of accessing more insightful data and relevant data as well. So perhaps a conversation we can pick up another time.
Yeah, happy to do that, Michael. We're certainly having a lot of discussions with both of the universities and have collaborations with the TAFE. So bringing those education institutions together to really understand what's our local research capability. So yeah, happy to hook up with you post today and have some more discussions around that.
And Tracy, if I could add, one of the things that is never lost on me is that with WOW and Hume combined, we would have as an organisation, we'll probably have the largest customer base of any institution. And the richness of the data that Michael's team would have combined with Hume would bring a level of intelligence to spending habits where, just payments data alone that we would be able to provide insights on. I'm sure there's some richness of data when it comes to, debt levels of the local community as well. So I'd love to be part of those conversations because I think that we are at probably an untapped source of data. It's in the depths of our systems, but I know it's there somewhere. So. But it'll be great to find a clear purpose for it so that we can invest the time and energy to bring it to the surface.
Thanks, Stephen. That'd be great. We'll certainly hook up with both of you and we'll have a conversation.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other questions we have from out there before we wrap up? Nick?
Yeah, it's really not a question, but it's more of a comment as I've been thinking back about listening to Michael and Stephen. And it's a good tangible commentary on what's going on. And when you think about it in relation to, we had a presentation a few weeks ago, I think, before ours from RSM. When you combine all that stuff, we end up being a little bit inward looking if we're not careful. So you need that sort of barometer on what's going on outside just to lift spirits, I think, a bit. So I thought that was really good, the way it came together. And it's something that I think we need to keep a good track on, because you can get really quite pessimistic just reading the Border Mail and all the other things that come in. You think we're getting beaten up from every direction. We're not. We need to appreciate how much better off we are than many places, I think. So thank you.
Okay, was there any other questions? Well, thanks again to both Stephen and Michael for sharing your time and obviously insights. And it sounds like there's some more collaboration to be had after this. So thanks once again. We'll also take this opportunity to plug ourselves and let you know that our sponsorship program for 2022 opens up soon. So if you're interested in aligning your business with ours, I welcome that conversation. So get in touch with me directly. I'd love to have a chat further on how our sponsorship program might benefit you and be of value to your business. In summing up, I'd quickly like to draw your attention to Mental Health Month and the important role we all play in raising awareness and promoting mental health for all. The past 2 years have been challenging, stressful and unpredictable, and the effects on your mental well-being are often invisible. I'd just like to say that it's okay not to be okay, and that Albury Business Connect will be circulating a survey as a follow-up to the Better Place project taken 12 months ago to assess the mental well-being of Albury business. It only takes a few minutes and your input is encouraged, and we'd ask that when you get the link to share it around to your loved ones and your team. Please look after yourself and seek opportunities should you or someone you know needs it. We'll include the link to the Better Place project website after today's session. And again, we thank you for joining us today.